precious souls. I want to talk to you today just about our story so you understand the background. You know, Dan and I met in 1984, a long time ago. And we've had many years together, which I'm so thankful for, because a lot of them were good years, some of them not so good. But when the stroke hit, which it was in 2018, you know, it threw us into a trauma like we had never experienced before. And he was basically fighting for his life. And I was trying to cope with losing someone I loved dearly, although he was alive, but barely. So the damages to his brain left him a bit of a shell of a man. He could no longer swallow on his own. So in the hospital he had to have a feeding tube installed, and it took a couple days for them to get ready for that and to prepare him for it. So he couldn't eat or drink, and no liquid, nothing by mouth. And so he was funny because he kept pointing to, there was a picture of a waffle on this thing, and he kept pointing to the waffle. He loves the waffle. And it was like we couldn't get him to understand that he could not have that right now. It would kill him. He would aspirate and die. So, and he stayed on the feeding tube for a full 4 months. It took him that long for his swallowing to start to get coordinating and work. So that was just one of the issues he was coping with. The other issues were not being able to speak, not being able to express himself. He has aphasia, so he wasn't able to really communicate very well what he was feeling. He couldn't move the right side of his body. In fact, he couldn't really, sitting up in bed was hard because he didn't even know he had a right side of his body. He would sit sideways. He had apraxia, which meant even if his brain knew what to do, the motor pathways to make it do what it was supposed to do weren't working. So he was having a really hard time, and it was really difficult for me to connect with him because he was going through everything. His brain was not comprehending the difference between a ball and a set of keys. He couldn't differentiate which was which, or name which was which, or it was just he couldn't do thumbs up or thumbs down. He couldn't nod his head yes or no. He couldn't point to yes or no and make it be true. The only thing that he seemed to be able to say were curse words. They came out perfectly. So we kind of giggled about that because that was interesting. The one thing we had is, and thankfully we had this, I could hold his hand, I could kiss him. He understood that. He understood love. So thank God we had that. Some caregivers don't have even that. So thank God we had that. So I tell you all that because as a caregiver, there are times when you do really feel, my dog's barking, really feel alone, really feel a lot of different emotions. I remember thinking I'm trying to make the best of a horrible situation. And just kind of that was my mantra for a while. I'm trying to look my best, be my best, but it's a horrible situation and it's hard. There was a time when I was asking, why me? Finally that switched to why not me, and we had all those good years together. His dad was already dead by the time, from a stroke by the time he had his stroke, so really he outlived his father. I wanted to keep hope alive, but there were days when the reality would just set in, and it seemed pretty hopeless. And you grieve all that you lost. And with a stroke, it's interesting because you lose it overnight. Like he was independent and then he wasn't. So it's he did my laundry and now he can't. He did my hair, now he can't. He was a hairdresser. He can't do my hair. So you'll see me with different hairstyles. They're wigs. Most of them are wigs. I wear wigs now. Because it was stressful, right? So as a caregiver, when something is stressful, you've got to find a solution that works for you. So this may look like my real hair, but it's not, because my hairdresser is not able to do it, and he did it for me every day. I was so blessed to have a hairdresser that did my hair every morning for me. There were times when I wanted to feel like a survivor, but I absolutely felt like a victim. So, not so much anymore. I think I'm in survivor mode now. I realize that we both survived the stroke. And it doesn't just affect the identified patient. It affects the caregiver too. And the sooner we realize and accept that we're hurting just as much as our loved one, or it's not a competition, I don't know if it's just as much, but our needs matter too. And so we all go through these things, and there's a whole lot of things, like how do I motivate him? Some caregivers, their partner's a little too motivated. Everybody's different. Everybody's story is different. And then, as a caregiver, you also feel, at least I felt, I have zero time for my own personal interests. Zero time. I don't see how I'm going to fit, because you're trying to fit it all in. And you go to one specialist and they say, well, do this every day with him. You go to another therapist, do this every day with him. And the only way he's going to get better is from practicing. And the only way, but you're also making sure that he's bathed and fed and showered, and that you're doing all the chores he used to do, and you're doing all that stuff. And so at least for me, I felt like I have zero time. When do I get to do what I want to do? Did I even brush my teeth today? There were those days where you just wonder, like, when do I look out for my own personal interest? And that's the real challenge, and it's the real important thing for caregivers to do, is to carve out that time somehow. Thankfully, Dan takes a nap, and thankfully he likes to watch movies in the afternoon and relax. So during that time, it's a short window, but that's the time I use very carefully to not just make my doctor appointments and take out the garbage and do all that stuff, but to take some time to do something that feels just for me, which is such a luxury. It's something, it may not be a lot of money, it may just be going out and sitting in a hot tub for half an hour. It may be just, running out for a quick lunch with a friend. It may be, taking the time to give myself a pedicure, because I probably won't have time to go actually do a pedicure, but maybe I could just do one here at home, and wouldn't that be great? So it's playing a game with the grandkids on Zoom. I mean, whatever it is, it's harder with COVID, right? But whatever it is that gives you joy, that you really are passionate about. Like I paint, I do painting, and I write poetry. And that has been my therapy, that has been restorative for me. So it's about finding whatever inch of time you can to do something that you just really love, that you get lost in, and it just restores that sense of identity, which is so important to not lose. So blessings to you. May you have a wonderful day. Take care. Signing off. Bye.